Now to developing news this morning as Australia acts on a possible threat from the terror group ISIS. The U.S. House of Representatives has strongly approved the president's request to fund the fight, with the legislators on both sides going for it and expressing some major doubts. Listen.
The last thing that we should do is arm Islamic rebels to fight other Islamic rebels.
We don't know if somewhere down the line they will turn our guns right back on us.
The amendment is adopted.
Well, despite those doubts, the amendment passed on a vote of 273 to 156. It gives the president $500 million to arm and train moderate rebels to take on ISIS in Syria. Now this plan goes to the Senate. Now the vote comes as Australian police detained 15 people in more than a dozen raids in a major counterterrorism operation against ISIS. That move was sparked by intelligence that the Islamic State was planning a public killing.
They hate us for who we are and how we live. That's what makes us a target.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State John Kerry goes before the U.S. House today to talk about strategy in defeating ISIS. Yesterday, he told senators more than 50 countries have now joined the fight against ISIS and reaffirmed the president's position that U.S. combat troops would not be called in on the ISIS fight. We'll, of course, keep you updated. Well, at 6:02, the ballot battle is coming to a head today at the request of Secretary of State Diana Didon. A federal court will weigh in on whether poll questions should be put before voters. Meanwhile, the state Supreme Court is set to weigh in on this same issue, particularly from Santa Fe County tomorrow. The county commission wants to put a poll question on the November ballot, asking voters how they feel about reducing penalties for having very small amounts of pot. The Secretary of State says these poll questions are not allowed on the ballot, but commissioners disagree. The state Supreme Court has already agreed to hear a challenge from Bernalillo County that is set for next Tuesday. We'll let you know what happens today. Well, a criminal known as the Casanova conman, you may remember him, is making airwaves again in the race for governor.
The conman preyed on women. King himself got the deal. Only 5 years of a 34-year sentence.
The Susana Martinez ad campaign here accuses Attorney General Gary King of cutting a sweet deal with Michael Suter, the so-called Casanova conman that let him walk out of prison decades early. Back in 2007, Suter was sentenced to 34 years for wooing women and investors, then taking their money. Suter won a malpractice suit against his lawyers, ironically, providing him with restitution money to pay the people he ripped off back and allowing him to get probation after serving just a fraction of his sentence. The King campaign calls the ad from Martinez a lie and even called a news conference with the lead prosecutor from the Suter case yesterday to respond to this. Here's what they had to say.
This, Katie, I felt it was not a campaign issue. This was an issue about the integrity of our office. And
prosecutor there, David Peterson, says it was the district court judge's decision alone to cut Suter's sentence short. Peterson says he and King never signed off on any deal to let Mr. Suter out early. A state fair worker is still behind bars this morning, accused of groping a teen at the Midway. State police arrested this man, Raymond Johnson, Tuesday. He's accused of reaching down into a 14-year-old girl's crotch and groping her twice on Sunday.
We were approached by the victim's aunt yesterday, and we were informed of an incident that occurred on the Midway at the Drop Zone, the ride called the Drop Zone, Sunday afternoon.
The teen says Johnson touched her when he buckled her into the ride and when she got out of it. He told police, and I quote here, he does on occasion, out of impatience, reach between occupants' legs to retrieve the safety strap. State police say there is no reason why Johnson should do that. They do not believe he inappropriately touched other children, but they are looking into it. Expo New Mexico says Johnson will not be allowed back to the fair. It says a contractor from Oklahoma called Murphy Brothers operates the rides and requires background checks and drug testing. Well, punches thrown, a hair being pulled, and more. A high school fight caught on camera is raising some serious security concerns this morning. Take a look at what this video shows. Cell phone video we got a hold of shows two teen girls throwing blows at Espanola Valley High School last week. And then right there, a school worker who's trying to break it up gets shoved into a glass trophy case, shatters the glass, knocks everything down. Now some city leaders say the fight highlights a problem that has to do with recent staffing changes. Just this school year, the Espanola School Board shifted the school resource officer contract from Espanola Police to the Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Office. Since the police department had handled the schools for years, one city councilor is worried that the law enforcement presence is now lacking.
The fact that there's a new school resource officer there tells me that quite possibly there could not be that trust, and this is probably a situation that could have been handled and wasn't.
Now, as for these two here, the 14 and 15-year-old girls in the video are charged with battery and suspended. Investigators tell us they were fighting about a boy. The sheriff's office tells us it expects to spend overtime hours at the schools in the next few weeks. 6:06 now. 4 weeks, a school zone sign at a busy intersection here in Albuquerque was turned off, and that caused a lot of concern for student safety. Flashing lights here at 4th Street in Alameda warned drivers to slow down for students walking to and from Alameda Elementary School. But we got a call from someone saying the lights were not being used recently. And turns out that person was right. The crossing guards decided it slowed down traffic too much, creating a massive backup for just a limited number of students who walk in that area. Bernalillo County leaders say the flashing lights are going to be turned back on. In fact, we went out there yesterday afternoon after school, and here they were on.
Well, we want everything. We want the traffic to flow smoothly, and we want the children to be safe when they cross here.
The county says it'll keep an eye on traffic in the area to figure out how long the light should be flashing, depending on how many kids are using that intersection. Well, new information this morning on a fireball we saw here in New Mexico a few weeks ago. We learned it really wasn't a fireball. It was a Russian spy satellite re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Space analysts say the satellite is designed to capture reconnaissance pictures and send them back to Russia in a capsule. The AMS, the American Meteorological Society, got a lot of reports of sightings here in New Mexico and all the way north of Montana. U.S. officials confirm Cosmos 2495 re-entered the Earth's atmosphere the same day as the sightings. Now, incidentally, the U.S. launched its own communications satellite into space Tuesday, but will not say what agency is using it or what exactly it will be used